I have the pleasure of introducing our day chair, Lisa Moncrief. She's been in commercial banking for her entire career, coming from a long line of family in the banking industry, including her father. Currently, she's at Wings Credit Union as a participation manager, where she works with a network of financial institutions to buy and sell portions of commercial real estate loans. She loves the outdoors, and along with her partner Steve, enjoys downhill skiing in the winter. She's president of their ski club. In the summer, she can be found biking, hiking, or canoeing, and maybe going to a brewery or two. She enjoys time with her two grandsons and looking forward to a third in October. Rotary is a big part of her life. She's been with City of Lakes for 17 years and looks forward to our weekly meetings. She loves the people here and loves being a part of things. So with that, Lisa.
Thank you, Carol. I am honored to introduce our speaker today, Dawanna Witt, and she was born in Chicago and raised in Minneapolis. Sheriff Witt became a mother at 15, but nevertheless excelled at school. She believes that teaching and learning are lifelong. In 2000, after graduating from college, she worked as a detention deputy for Hennepin County, which opened her eyes to the possibilities in law enforcement. I'm shortening her bio quite a bit. She's done a lot in her life, let's just put it that way. In 2004, after returning to school to become a licensed peace officer, Sheriff Witt was hired by the Dakota County Sheriff's Office. She became the first woman in the agency's history to reach the rank of captain. This is very awesome. I might add, too, that she's also the first woman of color and woman being in the sheriff's position. She focused on reaching out to young people and communities that have historically had poor relationships with police. Sheriff Witt earned a police science degree and followed that up with dual master's degrees in public safety administration and management, which included an internship with the Northamptonshire police in the UK. That would have been interesting. Sheriff Witt returned to the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office in September 2019 to take charge of the agency's largest bureau, Adult Detention and Court Services. In her role as a major, she oversaw court security for two of the most high-profile trials in modern history. She also dealt successfully with the pandemic in Minnesota's largest jail, leading the development of new protocols to help limit institutional and community spread of COVID-19. That would have been challenging. In 2022, Hennepin County voters overwhelmingly selected her to be the next Hennepin County Sheriff. Sheriff Witt is married with 2 adult daughters and 2 grandchildren, with one on the way, she shared with me. She also works as an adjunct professor at Inver Hills Community College, teaching juvenile justice and American corrections. Let's welcome Sheriff Witt.
Good morning. Well, thank you all for having me here today. It is a pleasure. I was telling someone as I came in, because I live at Idle Apartments, which is right across from Loring Park, and it's like, how can I be this close and still not be on time? I don't know. I think I got a little bit too relaxed. But again, good morning. I'm Dawanna Witt, the Hennepin County Sheriff. I want to thank Mary Pat for organizing this and for me being able to speak to you all today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about our office, especially now with everything that we're dealing with in the professional life of law enforcement. But after I talk to you all about some of the challenges that we're facing, I'm also going to talk about my vision and how we're addressing them. You'll hear a lot about public safety today. And, you know, I often tell people that public safety, when we're saying public safety, it has to include law enforcement. However, I'm the same person who say that I just don't like talking about this profession as just law enforcement, because that's just one action. But when we talk about public safety includes law enforcement, and it includes public health. It's all intertwined. And there are a lot of issues, as anybody who watches the news or read any kind of news media stories, there's a lot of issues out there. But when people asked me, as I jumped into this race for sheriff, they were like, why would you want to continue doing this? Why? You know, as you heard, I have multiple degrees and I have had multiple offers. Well, I tell people what we're missing in leadership today are people who actually care. And I am someone who got into this field because I do care, and continue through this field because I do care, and I do believe we can do better. But there is nothing wrong with saying a person who wears a uniform and a badge can be compassionate and empathetic and still hold people accountable. So it came down to, why not me? So, as you heard, I was raised in South Minneapolis. One of the miraculous things about the position that I'm in right now is, I will tell you, me growing up, I did not like law enforcement, didn't trust them, and I did not, they did not make me feel safe. You see, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of chemical health issues, a lot of abuse, and mental health issues that went unaddressed, which meant law enforcement was invited into our lives quite a bit. And I know what good policing looks like, and I know what bad policing looks like. So with that being said, I was on the outs. I didn't know that this would be a field that I would eventually get into. And I often tell people that, you know, as I accidentally ended up in law enforcement, because it truly started off from a tour of the jail. Well, you know, while I didn't know what was going on with my life, God did. He forgot to send me the memo to tell me what he was doing, and voila, here I am. But as you've heard, you know, so this is, May 10th will mark my 24th year in law enforcement. I've done quite a few things. You know, when I left Hennepin County in 2004, something I do like to share with people, especially when we're talking about like leadership, is people ask, why did I leave Hennepin to go to Dakota? I was wondering that too, because I'm a city girl, and when I was driving to that sheriff's office, I saw a lot of corn, a lot of fields, and that did not do me any justice, as I loved horror films, and I was thinking of movies like Children of the Corn. Somebody's gonna come get me. But I think it's always important to tell people why I left Hennepin. I thought that at that point in my life that I would always be there. And when it came to me being promoted to a licensed peace officer, they passed me over 3 times, and I asked for that meeting. What am I doing wrong? Why won't you promote me? And while I was sitting in City Hall, hence, if you're ever there, the walls are very thin, so whisper. But I could hear them discussing what they were going to tell me. And my lieutenant at the time, an inspector, I heard the lieutenant say, she knows people in the community that comes to jail. She has family members that come to jail. We can't trust her. And it was because I heard that conversation that led me to Dakota County. And when I went to Dakota County, I remember the then sheriff, Sheriff McGowan, and I'm sorry, Goodmanson. McGowan was my Hennepin sheriff at the time. And Chief Bellows asked me, why would you want to leave Hennepin? Hennepin is the premier sheriff's office in the state. Why, we don't understand why somebody would come to Dakota from there. And I told them the story. And I was blessed enough to have 2 leaders who understood the various lenses that I had with my personal life and how that could help bridge the gap between community and law enforcement. So much that they pushed me into those uncomfortable places because with that upbringing, I also didn't have faith in myself. I was taking all the right steps. I had this beautiful little girl that I had to provide for, right? But they knew what they were doing with me. And they are a big reason as to why I went back to school over and over again to not necessarily move up the ranks. They kept me in places that I'd love to do, which my passion has always been our youth. So yes, becoming the first woman to ever reach the rank of captain there, I did that without even knowing it. I just loved doing my work. I loved helping people's lives. And it was then Sheriff Bellows who got me a job with Inver Hills. Again, continuing my journey to make sure that I do my best to make sure that this profession is led with people who know it's okay to be compassionate and empathetic, even though you're in this uniform of authority. So in 2019, I got this call to come back to Hennepin County from the then sheriff, and I actually turned them down twice. And I do remember, I kid you not, it was nope, is what I said. Well, he called a third time and he asked me why, and that third time I told him the same story I told you all. And he goes, what if I told you those things are still going on and you can come back here and change it? Well, that's all I wanted to do in this profession, is be the game changer, to make people's lives better. And so he got me, and I came back in 2019. I will tell you this, Mother Nature doesn't like me, and neither does Father Time. And the reason I say that is we know 2019, and then we had the pandemic, we had the murder of George Floyd, we had all the unrest. And I can tell you that even though I made the joke about Father Time, I was exactly where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there, because of me being centered on community relations. And that was the time people needed to see me. In my opinion, anyways, I don't know. Jacob, you could go to the next one. So about the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, to be honest with you, I tried to make a pitch for our then Chief Deputy, Tracy Martin, to be the sheriff. And one day I had a bunch of people that came in the office and they bullied me. It's a true thing. And they're like, it's gotta be you. This is your time, you need to do it. And I'm like, nope. But and people ask me, well, why would you doubt that? Well, that's exactly who I was growing up. I never saw myself doing these type of things. I have to tell myself, why people saying, good job, you're doing good work. Well, all I look at it as is I want to help. So anyways, they bullied me, here I am. And right now, we have 820 employees. A lot of people hear about the city of Minneapolis and their shortages. The sheriff's office is no different, where we are down about 30 licensed deputies and about 60 detention deputies. The Hennepin County Jail is the largest jail in the state, so those numbers are very impactful to us. There's 5 bureaus: the investigative, administrative, court services, public safety, and community relations. That Community Relations Bureau just started under my tenure because, again, it has to be about community. While people say, well, how can you do this if you're short? How can you add another bureau? Well, that was non-negotiable for me, because it's not when we're in trouble. It's not if we get in trouble or if law enforcement is in trouble, it's when. And those relationships should already be there. And changing that concept of just showing up when things go wrong. I am a very open person, very engaging person. Some people say, well, you probably share a little bit too much of your life, but for me, it's this. We keep saying we need people to see the people behind the badge. Well, how do you do that if you don't have relationships? When I told you that I did not care for law enforcement, and so when I started working at that jail, it was the interaction with different law enforcement that changed my concept. Like, they're not all mean. They're not all bad. It's not hard to figure this out. Relationship has got to be a part of everything we do. But when we talk about the current challenges in law enforcement, our depleted law enforcement pipeline, the community trust, increased severity and frequency of crime, especially with our juvenile population right now, and then the lack of consequences. Again, you can be empathetic, you can be compassionate, and you can still hold people accountable. But those are the current challenges that we're facing. We're seeing less people come into this field. I will say we're seeing a little bit of an uptick with people coming back to school. As you heard, I'm an adjunct. I can tell you 2 years ago, I had single-digit classrooms. And this semester, For the ones who show up to class, I'm sure I'm over 20. So we are seeing some of that. We are, for the sheriff's office, you know, I will tell you, sheriff's office have typically lost staff to the municipalities, and that's because cities typically get paid more than sheriff's office employees. But here goes where I know that my presence, my leadership has been effective, and that's not easy for me to say, because again, it sounds like I'm bragging and I'm not that person. But where we've had people from different agencies, sheriff's offices, and cities that have been applying to the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. A few months ago, I would have told you that we were about 50-something short licensed deputies, and now we're down to 30. And that goes to speak to some of the experience. You can go ahead and click for me, Jacob. And that's a part of that vision. Again, when I say about being community-oriented, it is very hard to see this profession in a positive light if we're only responding to bad things. So staffing, our staffing affects everything that we do. And so it has to be non-negotiable as to our continued efforts to try to recruit and retain the right people for this work. People who are community-oriented, people who aren't afraid to wear their hearts on their sleeves. You know, somebody actually, well, I think he thought he was being mean, but I took it as a compliment, but he goes, "Oh, so we have a heartfelt sheriff." You're darn right you do. So that's one of the things. But so a part of my vision, violent crime reduction has to be a part of that. That has to be a priority, as, you know, people need to feel safe in their communities. That's, again, non-negotiable. Then when we talk about the opioid overdoses, the epidemic that we're seeing, one example that I like to use is last year, the first 6 months of last year, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office confiscated enough fentanyl that could potentially kill every person in our 1.3 million population of Hennepin County. It's a huge issue. This year, we're probably going to even pass, I'm pretty sure that we're going to pass that. But the number of people that are dying from opioids is staggering, especially with our young people, and knowing some of the things that are going on out there where some kids are dying thinking that they're taking Adderall or something else. You know, the people who are profiting off of the deaths of our children, they simply don't care, and they're thinking about other ways to how they can sneak that in there. We've been working with families on an initiative called Fentanyl, Focus on Fentanyl, I apologize. And working with some of the families that I have been working with, there's one mom who lost her 15-year-old daughter, Anastasia, to fentanyl overdose. And to hear this mother talk about when she called 911 when she found her daughter, and she did not know what Narcan was or naloxone, to know that she could have potentially saved her daughter if she knew about that, hurts. So a part of our focus on fentanyl epidemic, it's about education. Making sure that the communities know how deadly this drug is. When we say one pill can kill or 1 grain can kill, is very serious. We also have a program where we're going into the community not expecting the community to come to us, where we go and educate people about fentanyl and also give people free Narcan. Some people say, why would you want to do that? Well, you know, with some of the community groups I work with, especially even some of our walking group here in Loring Park, when they talk about just doing the work they're doing in the communities and the encounters they have with somebody overdosing, actively overdosing, education has to happen, and they have to have the tools to help save people's lives. Go ahead, Jacob, sorry. Yeah. Yes, programming, sorry. I hate PowerPoints. I don't stay on point. You guys notice how I'm not looking down here? I'm really bad at that. Public speaking is not my niche. I'm getting better, so I've been told. But which one are we on? That's the same slide, isn't it? I'm sorry. He's fired. No, I'm sorry. I gotta find my spot now. You know what, and I'm glad you're all laughing, because I do tell people that all the time. Is like, you know what, laugh at me or laugh with me, but doggone it, we're gonna laugh. So, this doesn't say programming. Auto theft, there, see, now I can go there. We've, so with our auto theft team, which we just started, as I told you, that we've had attracted people with experience to our agency. One of the things that we have heard loud and clear is the number of auto thefts have skyrocketed in Hennepin County, specifically Minneapolis and Bloomington, and I believe Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center are the other top ones. So again, short staff, we have to figure it out, right? We have to be creative, and so we did build out an auto theft team, which right now consists of a captain, sergeant, and 4 detectives right now. The work that they've done, and again, it just started in January, has been astounding thus far. You know, they've recovered high-end cars that I would never be able to afford, like such as a Lamborghini and other very expensive cars. But I looked at the program, what they're doing in Ramsey County. If you heard, Ramsey County had a steep decrease in their auto thefts. And, you know, I'm pretty honest, where people are like, well, what are we doing different in Hennepin? And one of the things that that are not working against us is, like in Ramsey County, if you have 5 juveniles in the car, all 5 juveniles go to the juvenile detention center. In Hennepin County, we can only take the driver. And so we are seeing a lot of repeated people, young people in these vehicles. Something I'm still trying to work on is saying, you know what, we have to have immediate consequences for our kids. Anybody a parent in here? Anybody ever been told, well, if you don't have an immediate consequence, then they're going to continue to doing what they're doing? It's kids' jobs to stretch their authority, right? They're going to see when that rubber band breaks. And so it's been very difficult, I got to be honest with you, to make a hard punch at decreasing the number of auto thefts, and it's because we don't have the current political atmosphere to make sure that our kids know that there are consequences for their actions. You know, it's very difficult when my detectives are saying these are the same kids that are making it seem like it's a lot of people. It's not. So something that I'm still working on is making sure that we get everybody on board with having immediate consequences, again, to stop these auto thefts. And it's just really disappointing for me right now, I can tell you that. And then the next one is our recruitment and retention, which I've kind of talked on right now, but you know, officer wellness and officer safety has to be a thing right now. This is our deputy who was shot in Minnetonka last month as he was getting released from the hospital. And you know, there's been a lot of people ask, well, how are they doing? How are your people doing? Well, you know, just because you might look like you're doing good physically, we don't talk enough about the invisible wounds. You know, of the deputies there, and there were 5, who were stuck behind places that would not necessarily cover them if a bullet hit them. They're not fine. They're not back at work yet. And their families are really like second guessing this profession for them to be in, and who can blame them? So employee wellness is, nope, we'll go back to that one. I'm not done. I gotta make sure I talk about that a little bit more. So employee wellness has to be a thing for us. When I go to different city council meetings and people, and when I repeatedly hear new recruits say why they chose those cities, it's often about them saying that they feel protected by their leadership. And so to say that this is just a job, it's not just a job, it is a calling. You know, we go to some of the most dangerous situations and dangerous things, and it is unacceptable that the men and women who do this work are not more supported. And when we recruit, I always tell my team, we don't recruit an individual, we have to recruit the family, because that support in them homes to do this line of work has to be there for them, because it's difficult. And it's a shame that it's difficult, because it is a very rewarding career when you know the number of lives the men and women save and touch, but we never talk about those things enough. And then we'll go to our community policing. He's mad at me, y'all. I can see he won't even look at me. No, but again, that new bureau that I talked about earlier. Last year, our community outreach team went to over 500 events. And I'm trying to grow that team because, again, building those relationships in the community has got to be a priority. We also brought back DARE to our office. One of my deputies, Shantae, where she was at a school in Minneapolis, believe it or not, DARE officers will not be surprised if they heard a fifth grader talk about they've tried to drink alcohol or they tried marijuana. In her fifth grade class that she just taught, there were kids who admitted to trying even harsher drugs. Fifth graders. So again, people are like, you're so short. How can you do this? There's some things that have to be non-negotiable. When I'm talking about fentanyl and the effects that that's having on our young people, it's our community outreach team that they don't take calls. They're not on patrol. All they do is go and do the proactive work throughout Hennepin County. And the work that they do is just amazing, making sure that they connect with every corner of this county. And then there's the school resource officer issue. I am so glad that our school resource officers are back, because again, that gives them that space to do preventative work, build the relationships, not just responding to bad things. I did have, I would say a small part, Jacob, would you say? With my letters and talking about my experience as a school resource officer, that was the best part of my career. And I didn't know I was gonna be sheriff, but I always said, when I retire, I'm gonna be a school resource officer, because it's such important work, being able to influence these young people's lives in a positive way. Me always thinking, I want to be that person that me and my siblings needed to see, as we would all tell you that there are so many parts of the system that failed us. And so I'm very passionate about school resource officers, and very glad that we got somewhere where they can be in the schools and do their job safely and effectively while also caring for the students and the teachers that are in those buildings. I feel like I missed something on that one. Did I? Okay, he can stay. But no, so you know, it is. People ask, because I'm all over the place, and people ask, how do you do this? And I got to tell you, my fumes is passion. You know, we need people that care about the work that we do and the decisions that we make that affect so many people. And for me, it is making sure that we do have compassion and empathy in this work and say it's okay. That's coming from someone who has been written up as a deputy that said that I have officer safety issues because I'm empathetic and compassionate. I am a law enforcement leader who admits that we've been lacking in that area, and leading by example, showing people that it's okay to do those things. So thank you, and do you have any questions for me? This will be the first Rotary Club. I know you guys don't want to be the first Rotary Club that does have a question for the sheriff. Yes, sir.
I'll be the first to say that we want you as a member, especially knowing you live next door. And one of your predecessors, Rich Stanek, was a member of our club.
Yes.
And he coincidentally happened to join our He coincidentally joined our club the day that the 35W bridge came down. Just shortly after he got inducted, he was heading out west, and he heard somebody called, and he was busy. But no, we'd love to have you. I love your spirit, your good humor, your great service. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just have more of a comment for you, Sheriff Witt. First of all, I worked with Dave Bellows and Dodd Goodmanson about the same time you were at Dakota County, so I can appreciate your appreciation of them. But in my current role with Meet Minneapolis, what I want to do is thank you for supporting the Minneapolis Police Department and downtown safety through that Joint Beats program, because the ability for the deputies to assist in keeping downtown safe is kind of what helps drive our business and getting people downtown. So thank you for your support in that.
No, thank you for that. And, I'll add to that too. So, like in the suburbs, I've been asked quite a bit, like, suburbs worried about all of our resources going to Minneapolis. Well, what we do know is we cannot afford for Minneapolis to fail. And so again, being creative and making sure that we are helping out everywhere has been difficult, but it's been necessary. It's interesting. I wish I could show some body cam where people are seeing the sheriff's office, and it's like we've been here all the time. But it's a shame where people are like they've never seen it. So we're making bigger imprints. We also have contracted with Golden Valley until they get fully staffed. We did the same thing for Brooklyn Center. What I've said when I ran for this office, as well as right now, is we will not turn down people for help. And so Minneapolis, we've added some teams. It's called the JET team, Joint Enforcement Team, where we have regular patrols and target spots, as well as our votive team, which is Violent Offender Task Force, who have been doing tremendous collaborations on what we call enforcement details with Minneapolis PD to ensure that we are keeping people safe. So thank you, and we will continue to help.
I know we're just about at time. I just want to say thank you. I'm a high school principal in Minneapolis. Hearing your voice
Which
about
school?
The Fair School for Arts, right down on 10th and Hennepin.
I'm a South High graduate. I was just
okay. All right. But I do want to thank you for your focus on youth and things I heard today about Narcan in particular. And our young people do need to know about that. Frankly, everybody in the room needs to know about that. But I also want to just echo your voice on school resource officers. And in Minneapolis, as you know, we do not have them right now. But it gives me hope that perhaps we could start a conversation and collaboration on that. So thank you so much for your work with youth and for being here today. And I appreciate that.
You know what? Thank you for that. And I am actually I've been having conversations trying to get us back into the schools in Minneapolis as well. DARE program, we've been in Minneapolis schools. I hope that we can make some progress with that because it is so needed. One of the other things I will tell you all too is I have a student advisory board. Those are 10th through 12th graders from throughout Hennepin County schools. And one of the first questions I ask them is, how do we adults screw everything up for you all? Right? I got to give them permission to say, okay, this is what we do. But just being able to listen to them and hear their voice, and then also ask them, how do you all view this? How do your peers view this? We have to listen to our kids, and they will tell you that we're not listening to them. In regards to fentanyl, Anastasia, the 15-year-old, I failed to realize that 2 of the students on my advisory cab went to school with her. And they knew there were rumors out there. They were asking the school what was going on. They were asking the adults what happened. But yet here we are pushing them to look for the information on social media because we as adults don't give them the information. They were very clear about that. And so they were believing all the rumors when they know that some of their peers are out there looking for Adderall or whatever it is, and that's exactly how Anastasia died. So how can we truly be preventative if we're not giving them the information? It sucks, the world that we live in today, but we have to bring our kids up in the reality that they are facing, not the world that we would like it to be. So thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being so open and committed and passionate about what you do. It's impressive and very appreciated. And we want you to sign this book, and we'll be giving it to a third grader that will be very impressed that you're signing it in particular, and that it's part of a Way to Grow, a nonprofit that
I would
they'll
be
pass
happy
that
to.
along.
This page okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And I'd encourage you also just to remember us. You know, you've got 70-some business leaders here who you talk about involving the community. Don't forget about us. We're here, and this could be a puzzle piece in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. You can keep the pen. Okay, so thank you, everybody. And if you have, I don't know what is going on with the microphone here. If it's not me, I'm just standing here. Just a reminder, if you have not bought tickets to Opera Night, do it, because we're going to start opening up to the public next week, and they're going quickly. So really want you to be part of that. It's June 26th. I'll send an email with the information, or it's on our website. So thank you. Have a good Rotary Week.